Joe Davidson, Sacramento B.
I want to ask Ryan Coogler if he could build a new arena for Sac State.
Well, I mean, the Chatty House is calling for the KCC over at Sac State. Like, why didn't Kenny? Joe Davidson said, "Yo, they need a donor with a deep pocket," and I'm like, "Joe D, I'm looking at one." Like,
I know he's pointing over at Kenny Caraway. We need a deep pocketed donor who understands college basketball, a guy who watches it exhaustively, a guy who played it, a guy who's from here, a guy endorsed by his mother. What more can we do?
This is true. I got 2 kids now, though, Joe. I'm broke.
Yeah.
Well, so you're more committed to your kids than basketball?
Wow. Never thought we'd see the day, Joe D.
I'm flummoxed. No, what we were talking about off the air is, can Sac State men's basketball get a new arena? That's, gosh, if you don't have a deep pocketed donor, that's a hard deal to pull off. But you got an impressive new coach and David Patrick. You guys just talked to him. They're bringing in 7-footers from around the globe. Hey, the Sac State gym is so small. I don't think the 7-footer could stand without scraping his head. But it's something they're trying to do. Same with football. Causeway Classic's coming up. Sac State's going to sell out that 22,000 seat stadium. Can we get a new stadium? Well, who's got the donors? Who's got $9 million just to drop down?
Hey, Joe.
I'll match it. If there's $9 million, then Kenny and I and Damon will match.
There we go. I'm old school. I think people have told me a number of different times why this wouldn't work, but I'm gonna just keep throwing it out there. They can open the doors to Memorial Auditorium again if they want to. I'm just saying.
It won't work. Here's why. They did it years before, and it's a great venue, but it's costly. And it's just like, Sacramento State. Geez, how can we play under the lights? Well, just play at Rayleigh Field. Yeah, but they don't give it to you for free. And then Sac State finally got lights, and it's a game changer for Sac State. Baseball is great under the lights. It also allows them a chance to potentially host NCAA regionals and all that. But you would think Sac State basketball has been around for so long. If Sac State basketball had an arena the same size as UOP down at Pacific, some 5,000, then the high school section championships might be held there. Because they're always looking for bids. The CIF and Arco Arena and Golden One have been great, pretty much at cost, and just letting the high schools use it as a nice little favor and to give those kids a wow factor. So kudos to the Maloofs. They were easy to frown upon and boo, but they did a nice thing with the high schools there. And Vivek has done a nice thing there with the high schools and not charging them so much that they have to charge. The CIF doesn't have to charge $50 for a ticket to go watch a high school game.
Well, let's get into high school, Joe D, as the high school football playoffs continue. Anything surprising in the first weekend?
Yes. It's actually last week was the quarterfinals, and we had 4 10-0 teams go down. And the Division I, St. Mary's Rams of Stockton, a team that beat De La Salle, they were 10-0, lost to Turlock. Now Turlock plays at Oak Ridge in a Division I semifinal on Friday. In Division, I'm going to go through the brackets here. In Division III, Placer, the Hillman up in Placer County, were 10-0. Wood Creek of Roseville beat them. Okay, there's another one.
Georgia school.
And then Division V, Liberty Ranch of Galt was 10-0, and then the Dixon Rams beat them. So, right at any level of play, it really gets fun when there's upsets. And it's football, so that's one thing, and they're high school kids, so that's the other thing. So things can happen, but it's also a credit to those upstart teams that came in and pulled an upset. And another one was Downey of Modesto, was 10-0. It was the first public school in Modesto in 50 years to go 10-0, and then Granite Bay of the Sierra Foothill League went down there and bounced them. And so I don't know if we're going to have any more big upsets, but we could. We got Central Catholic of Modesto playing at Folsom. That's a super showdown, Division I. Oak Ridge, Turlock. If there's another upset brewing, maybe it could be Rockland against top-seeded Manteca in Division II. Manteca is led by Blake.
ROC.
Yes, Blake Nicholson of Manteca is going to Florida State. Powerhouse runner, powerhouse linebacker, about 6'3", 225. A man. He had 400 yards and 7 touchdowns in a game earlier this year. So, and he's better known as a linebacker. So we could see more upsets. The only unbeaten team left and all the high school football playoffs for this section is Sutter up there in the Marysville area, and they're 11-0, and they take on Escalon in Division 5. Well aware that upsets have taken over this playoff tournament.
Yeah, one of the things that caught my eye, looking at the brackets after Friday, is in Division 3, and I like my Sacramento City schools. Christian Brothers going up against Wood Creek this week. That's a good matchup with the upset from Wood Creek. And then my boys over at Grant, they keep trucking along. They got a big game going up against Patterson this week. So what you thinking about those two games? No disrespect to the other kids in Wood Creek and Patterson or whatever. I'd love to see Christian Brothers versus Grant in the championship.
Oh, that would be great. And the coaching staffs at Grant and Christian Brothers support each other. They share tweets of encouragement. So I think they appreciate all of that. Wood Creek is a team that just bounced unbeaten Plaza, as we mentioned. So that's a great game you mentioned. And Christian Brothers has a national recruit sophomore wide receiver named Phillip Bell. SEC schools are looking at him, USC and all that, as a sophomore, and he was a freshman starter on varsity. I remember the days, Kenny and Damien, where you weren't on varsity until at least a junior. Now these kids are so skilled, and they play year-round ball, and some kids are just more mature than others, and they arrive as freshmen as impact players. Another example is Rico Flores. He's going to Notre Dame out of Folsom, a wide receiver. He was a freshman varsity starter at Capital Christian. And sometimes these guys are just – the first time I saw a freshman starter on varsity basketball was Matt Barnes at Del Campo in 1994-95. And I went out there to go do a story when I was about 8 years old or whatever, so I don't sound so old. And here's this long string bean kid, Matt Barnes, and he handles the ball, hitting threes, and I thought, wow, he's really good. And then he came out for football as a sophomore, and Steve Kenyon is a guy who's paramount in Matt Barnes' development as an athlete and as a man too. And Matt will talk about it. And he was a football coach at Del Campo and a strength and conditioning coach, and said, you need to get in the weight room. You're going to get pushed around in basketball because you're not that big. Imagine that, because Matt Barnes, as we all remember him, was the guy pushing people around in all his years in the NBA. He was kind of a ringer, but he said he needed football to toughen up. And they were playing Grant once when he was a junior. And he got blasted across the middle. Matt Barnes did, and his helmet went rolling. I think it was in slow motion just for NFL films and background music. And he came off, and he didn't want to. He was ready to quit. And Coach Kenyon said, "Put your hat on." No, Coach, put your hat. Put your hat on and stay with me. Put his helmet on, finish out the year, and then by the time he was a senior, he was the one knocking guys around. And when Matt Barnes was given there was some kind of honor 5-6 years ago at the Warriors, and Matt Barnes chose Steve Kenyon to introduce him. I think that's when he got his championship ring or something. So he's still loyal to that guy from all those years later, and so that's kind of a cool story. So our theme there, hey man, play as many sports as you can. See, Kenny, what could Kenny have done? What would Kenny have done, Damien, if he played football?
I'm telling you, I thought about playing.
Well, your mother would have freaked out. She wouldn't have allowed it, but
she absolutely would have. I probably should have kept playing baseball. That's what I should have done, is continue to play baseball.
Well, but watching your free throw percentage plummet in college, I think you were probably I'm giving you a hard time. This is great. We could talk smack on this kind of show.
Always.
What's he gonna do?
Always. And Joe D's seen it all. He saw me play, so I know he's
but you're a good player. Good player, man. So the good high school football, and then the Saturdays, the Causeway. I just ran a big story today saying this might be the most important Causeway. Classic, Sac State, UC Davis. Sac State is number 2 nationally, looking to go 11-0, secure a 1, 2, or 3 national seed in the playoffs. And UC Davis needs to win this game to get in the playoffs. And in the history of these two programs, guys, this is amazing. Only twice before have UC Davis and Sac State both been in the playoffs at the same time.
Wow.
And that was 1988 when Sac State beat them in the regular season to snap an 18-year losing streak to the Aggies. And then they played again in the playoffs, and Sac State beat them again. And then last year, both teams were in the playoffs. It could happen this year, but UC Davis needs to win. But one guy, Adam Fisk is the associate AD for Sac State. He worked at UC Davis for 5 years, so he's kind of seen both sides of the fence. He said, quote, "This is the golden age of local college football." And he's right. We got local coaches, a lot of local athletes, exciting teams, playoff, national rankings. I think it's awesome. Great for this region.
We think that the Kings got on people's radar last night with that win on national television, with that beatdown on national television of the Brooklyn Nets.
Wasn't that something?
Oh, it was incredible.
I was watching on TV, and I was just like, they hit another shot. They hit another. They're moving the ball. I said, this is, let's see what Kevin Durant's got. He doesn't have enough. And it was just their night. I mean, so you could see the potential is right there. And you guys could feel the crowd has been waiting for this for a long time. But can you sustain it? So this week should be a winnable week, right, guys? Should win the rest of the week.
It's a tough week. San Antonio is tough. Detroit's going to be a ball game.
Got to do it. That's how you got to do it, Joe.
Yeah, San Antonio's a good ball.
Detroit, they're
love coach.
10 of those games. The last 2-minute report has been gone against them.
Yeah,
but those are games they got to win. Got to win those games. Got to win.
That's fine. Go out there. Let's start with Thursday. Take care of business against the San Antonio Spurs, who actually plays a lot like you do.
Mm-hmm.
They move the ball a lot. They haven't had a primary scorer like that's the way that they've done. But where I was going with that was, if the Kings got on the national radar last night, what would it take for Sac State to finally get on the national radar?
In football?
Yeah.
Win a national championship. Yeah. And, that may sound outlandish, but if you're ranked number 2 in the country, then winning a national championship should not be a stunner. If you were ranked 16th and you won all those games as an at-large, that's one thing, but that would do it. Why
are they number 1?
I could see the argument. South Dakota State is number 1. South Dakota State beat UC Davis earlier this year, has an FBS loss. I can't remember to who. I could see that argument. And they're proven. Not that it entirely matters, but South Dakota State eliminated UC Davis and Sac State in the playoffs last year. So they've been around. They've done this, so they earned that. Anybody who gets all flustered that Sac State needs to be ranked higher, hey man, Sac State's never been number 2, and just keep winning, and that'll do it. And there's all this speculation. I wrote about this last week, guys, about can Sac State keep Troy Taylor as coach? And I was talking to President Robert L. Nelson yesterday, the Sac State president. He's the outgoing president. And I said, hey, so can you extend him like 10 years on your way out? Can you just, unlimited? And he goes, yeah, actually, he's locked in for another 7 years. He goes, I don't think he's going to go anywhere. He wants to stay, and they've got things they still want to do. And for all that Troy Taylor and the Hornets have done, they're 22-1 in the Big Sky Conference. They're looking for a conference championship three-peat. They're 0-2 in the playoffs. And so they lost. They just got beat. And so that's what they got to do. You got to win those games, sell out. ESPN Game Day is in the Big Sky this weekend. Yeah. They're up at in Montana for the Montana State game. Yeah. Well, why not Sacramento State? Well, Sac State hasn't quite gotten there. Montana State have been at that level. The FCS have been monsters for years, and Sac State's been a monster for just over 2 years.
You know who doesn't care about Montana and Montana State? Me.
That's right.
I don't care about Montana and Montana State.
And you know what? They're probably saying mutual. We don't care about Sacramento.
They're going to learn.
They're going to learn. But no, it's a good time for, great to see the Kings doing well. It's great to see 2 college football teams locally doing well. High school football is what it is. It's fantastic. We touched on Sac State men and women basketball playing at Golden One. That's a cool venue there. And no, it's a good time to be in Sacramento. FC Republic's done well. It's not bad. It's probably as healthy as we've ever seen it this early in a Kings season, with Sac State doing well, UC Davis doing well in the high schools. It's been a while. Certainly, it's been a while for the Kings.
Sure. We appreciate you as always, Joe D.
Real quick, I got 2 things. Can I get 2 things, Joe D?
Yeah.
All right.
You got the floor, sir.
Number 1, I just got a text from Cheryl L. Grove. She says, "Tell Joe D I said I." So
who's it from?
Cheryl L. My mom. She's known as Cheryl Grove on the show. But she says, "Tell Joe D I said hello." So
text her back that Joe D said on the air that she is still my favorite member of that family. She understands. Kenny understands. Damien understands.
No, it's Damian feels the same way. You know, I'm nice. It's like Cheryl Oak Grove, Jazz, Reese, and then KC. That's just what it is.
Well, baby.
Baby. Yeah,
then KC.
Then KC.
KC the dog, then KC the human.
Hey, at least your mom didn't text you and say, I didn't know you were on the air.
There's that, right? There's that. The other thing I wanted to ask you, though, real quick, because we got a big announcement and we talked about it. We talked to the guy last week on the show, Andre Stojakovic, committing to Stanford, gearing up for a pretty big senior season at Jesuit. Does he have an opportunity to go down as one of the great prep players this season?
He's already there. He is a phenomenal player. We'll have to get out there and watch this kid play. He is a 6'7" ball handling guard, maybe more of a natural 2 guard in college, but he can handle it in high school. All kinds of skills, great shooter, a real instinct on feeling the game, making the extra pass, moving without the ball, very coachable, works hard, incredible mentor in Peja Stojakovic, who is a hard critic and will crack on his son for fundamental breakdowns. You can't lose the ball. You can't be missing free throws, get involved. What a great acquisition for Stanford, and also tells you guys what kind of student Andre Stojakovic is, because they don't just take anybody down there. Anybody who says, oh, Stanford will just get you in because you're an athlete is completely missing it. And so, wow, he's big time, and Jesuit will be really good this year, and he's a huge reason. He's so entertaining. I saw him score 48 points in a game, 44 in another, and seamless without dominating and without dominating the ball. All within a flow of the game, he could drop 40 on you, and you go, whoa! And he also had 8 assists and 10 rebounds, and he running the floor, and it doesn't get tired. I'm super impressed with him.
He's the truth.
Appreciate you as always, Joe D.
See you guys.